Now on to
Do you have them?
Now it's a PSA.
PSA.
Hey.
So ridiculous.
Say hello, Internet.
Hello,
Internet.
We interrupt this childish giggling fit to bring you actual content. Well, not to say that anal retentiveness is not content. I've seen plenty of other YouTubers.
I mean, we're talking about butt stuff again. That was last session.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Butt stuff is eternal.
No, butt stuff was last game, so not 7C, but
right. I meant last
yeah, that's weird.
session, which was vampire.
Yeah.
Last week was
So much butt stuff.
so much butt stuff.
I mean, last session for this game was basically like, well, I'm gonna go save my husband, and boy, is this depressing, and he is a wreck. But I love him, and I got him back.
Well, we're still on the boat.
Here for last time. What happened?
That's right. So,
I was like,
That was how you saw the game. I had a blast.
Marilena and Rethold went undership to
Yes.
find her husband, and Magnus and Zhenya were slaughtering anything that moved on upper decks.
Yeah.
And having a little fight.
I was laser focused on my purpose, but that's what everyone else told me to do. So, hey.
There was another Fate Witch aboard.
Oh, right.
She's just waiting her fate.
Yeah, it was more or less like being pretty overtly verbally abused by
I mean, not all Fate Witches
her handler
were treated that way, but she certainly was not treated well.
who immediately died upon showing those colors.
And then
his son took over, obviously.
And he also died.
And he also died for showing those same colors and...
As is tradition.
Yeah, open palm striking a lady.
I mean, eventually,
in
we're just
Zhenya's
not
presence.
we're not even going to let them say things. We're just going to be like, oh, he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
Well, everything he said was in a language I couldn't understand, so...
No.
That's
And then the
probably not
captain,
fine.
the actual captain of the ship was saying things at you. He's still alive, by the way, because he's safely between a diminishing line of his Marines and you all. And he's continuing to say things while the witch she's basically like a robot that hasn't gotten a command. Her hands are folded in her lap and she's standing straight as a post on deck and not doing or saying anything.
I'm still in the cell.
Yeah. Evine is still up in the mast taking pot shots. Pretty sure nobody has seen Evine yet.
I mean, do we ever?
No, not even you guys. So
I mean, yeah, we don't know if it's actually Evine or just like some sort of, I don't know, fever dream / glamour thing that happens to look kind of like a person.
Oh man, am I gonna have to like start leaving out like milk and honey and stuff to appease this spirit?
Yep.
All right.
It's like, how fey are you?
But how fey was she?
Oh, she was a big fae. Like super fae.
Super fey.
Super fey. To backtrack this a little bit, there was about half a day of trip, Megan, which Jimena spent primarily caring for / talking with Rodrigo, who's physically sound, but it's more and more apparent to Jimena that mentally he's probably not doing too good. And one of the things that would give Jimena pause is that he's being a little evasive about how he got caught. Like he's not, either he doesn't remember or doesn't want to remember everything that happened up to this point. He does talk a lot about your family, and has no problem discussing that. But from the moment you all got scattered, it's a little jumbled. And he did mention sort of traveling almost like a hobo for a while, running from town to town. And he does mention passage through one particular town, which Jimena would know from having traveled with La Baronne Blanche, no longer exists. The town was burned to the ground overnight.
Whoa.
And a lot of people seem to assume that's sort of holdovers from the war with Montaigne, because it's fairly close to the border. But Rodrigo's being a little shifty about it.
Okay.
But other than that, he's he's sort of acclimating, doesn't rest very well, but he's sort of holding on. Would Jimena have joined this boarding party at all? We're going to leave that open to you.
I think if it was clear that he was at the very least physically okay, if he's being evasive anyway, I think Jimena would probably be like, okay, well, when you're ready to talk about it, we can talk about it. And
yeah,
go with the party.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem, he's not panicking, and he's clearly, he's been through things, but he's not unstable. Mm-hmm. So you if that's what Jimena would gauge, then he seems well enough. It's not like you need to watch over him. He seems to be doing okay in that department. So basically, Jimena will assume you were part of that boarding party. This is a ship that's flying the colors of the Mondavi.
Sure.
So one of the 7 merchant princes of Vodache, although the person who used to be the noble on board is no more. And the second in line is also no more. Neither of which are, major nobility. This is probably branch family at best.
Still, if they found out we did this, it'll be a fun time.
Well, and also important enough to have a Fate Witch on board. So,
I mean, like, I remember being told once, I was given this advice, and I think it is true. The only way that they're going to stop trying to get us back is to take them all down.
Yep. So at this point, Rethold, Oscar, and Marilena has made their way below deck. Marilena has broken into the cell of her husband, who's seen better days.
I guess, well, I don't know if I would know this or if we talked about it before, but I mean, are we getting right out now, or are we just...
Well, here's where you stand at this point. With the combined effort of Rethold and Oscar, the raiding party that was below deck is now no more. There's guts and viscera all over the floor. You hear faint noises from the rest of the ship. There might be more people locked in here. Not many. You hear one or two voices. But resistance has basically stopped at that wall of martial prowess. And up top, with the combined effort of Jimena, Genia, and Magnus, with some help from Ernesto when it didn't cramp its style too much, and some range support from the ship. The Marines are basically dwindling. The captain is still yelling in Vodace. His speech is sort of rising more and more. Like you're quite sure his voice was not that octave when he started pleading with you, but it has ascended. There's 3 or 4 guys sort of backing, into him, sort of still forming a very measly wall. But at this point, he's not reaching for his weapon, and he has both hands in the air, and he's talking a mile a minute.
Oh man, does that mean I gotta get out there and translate? I don't know this.
Doesn't
right now,
Jimena
though.
speak?
Yeah, I speak Vodace.
Yeah.
Speaks Vodace. And so does she's somewhere.
Jimena, because you would have heard the entire tirade, he's trying to talk at Genia, who doesn't understand a fucking word he's saying. But at the beginning, he is basically trying to make the plea of a merchant marine. Like, he's like, this is family squabbles. I have no problem whatsoever letting you take what you need and cutting our losses here. It will be fine. And as the conversation advanced and more of his people died, it shifted from, you can take the ship. You can, there's a boat. I'll take the boat. I'll take my chances with my guys and we'll leave. And it's now escalating into, like, I'm more of a contractor. Like, I have no bloodlines with them.
Wow.
They're not going to miss me if I don't come back. So, I can just go elsewhere. And it's not going to be a problem. Like you don't need to do this. You're going to get tired at some point. Right? So his sales pitch is he's negotiating to the low, especially since nobody is really negotiating with him. So really, he's just negotiating with himself.
Pretty pathetic. He's gonna need to change his shorts.
He's gonna need pantaloons.
He doesn't even give us a ship. He says he doesn't care.
I don't want his ship.
Do we care if he cares? No? Okay.
You hear, if you're saying that, Magnus, in between 2 swings, is like, the ship's not his to give. It's too late for that. He should have done that before we came on board. Now we're taking it.
That is a fair point.
Yep.
And then he sort of stops and turns around, and then he spits for a second because he's got blood all over his mouth, and then he picks something out of his beard with visible disapproval. And then he says, "Ask him how he can make it worth our while, then." because that ship's not his to offer. So if he's bargaining, he's gonna offer something else.
In mid neck crack, Zhenya stops and goes, "Are we supposed to listen to them now?" Invest in for Magnus.
You get from over the barrel, like you get a from Magnus.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
imagine
he talks fast. We'll give him up until we get through his guys to make his pitch.
mid stabbing someone, Jimenez like, yeah. So my comrade brings up a good point that it isn't really your ship to give us. So like, is there something that you can give us that would make it worth not killing you?
He looks like he's about to cry for a second.
Oh my god.
And because he saw the looks like at a loss and basically says, I can provide you with shipping maps from our family. Well, their family, really, not my family. But, I work for them, so I have access to the maps.
Oh my goodness.
Over her shoulder, like, he says he's got maps.
Maps don't mean anything to me. Magnus?
Veston probably have better maps.
These ships are usually filled with stuff. So, maybe it's worth something.
Maybe?
He says they are specific to Mandavi stuff.
Well, maybe Rethel will be interested in those. Tell him it's worth like at least 3 limbs out of 4. See what he says.
Do you mean that we'll only cut off 3 or that we'll only cut off 1 so that he has 3?
I'm going to leave that at your discretion.
Semantics.
If the maps are all you have, then we will dismember you but maybe not kill you. I think is what my comrade is saying. That's on the table.
There's a long string of expletives in Vodace, but it's not like not like when you hit your finger with a hammer, more like when it's the 10th time something happened to you today and you can't do it and you start like fucking curse crying in your car. Like that's basically what it sounds like. There's a lot of muttering, and then he basically says like, I also have information about what the Mondavis are doing in San Felipe and what their operation look like. I have nothing else.
He says he has information about what his people are doing in San Felipe. Like what their movements and stuff are.
Oh, Zhenya stops killing people.
You said the magic words.
Right.
Magnus is like, oh, that's better. I don't like him. He's a coward if he's gonna give it his boss, but it benefits us.
Okay. Stay there.
Have we found the guy that put Ricardo in prison?
Put Ricardo in prison?
Yeah.
No. Oh, Leandro? Well, you don't know who the jailer was.
Honestly, I haven't gotten to the point where I even asked him anything.
Put
Ricardo?
Put Ricardo in prison or put Leandro in prison?
Yeah, I don't know who we're talking about now.
Who's
Who's
Ricardo out of
in
prison?
distress?
There was someone who thought he had information and put him in prison. Have we taken care of that person yet?
No, you have not.
I think they were lower on the list. We can move it back up, though, definitely.
It doesn't need to be. That's what would interest her in the situation.
It's kind of a cross purpose because Ricardo got put in by the Inquisition proper. So you.
Yeah, but this is what is going on with everything in San Felipe, including that. So yeah.
Oh yeah. There's definite cross sections there. So
Yeah.
You're right. Genya would have an interest in that. So yeah, Magnus is now making a show of leaning on his boarding axe. In between two sets of barrels, and he's looking around at the Marines. He blows a kiss at one of them, who doesn't seem thrilled.
Was like, did they faint? Not from beauty, but from fear.
There's no faint, but there's a slight flinch. And you're not exactly sure if it is out of fear or, assault on his masculinity or what. Like, there's something there.
Or all of the above.
Right. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But yeah, the carnage slows down as you come to a full stop. Genya, if you're looking around, you see Ricardo's head sort of peeping over the barricade, sort of looking, and he
It's like, wait, I
raises
don't
a
hear
hand.
as many people like crying out and dying.
Right?
What's up with that?
He raises a hand, and the volleys also stop for the time being. Yeah, things sort of die down on deck, which you folks below can also hear very clearly that the din has slackened quite a bit. Rethold, you get a hearty grab around the shoulders from Oscar, who basically kicks one of the people you and him have stopped at this line, and basically says, "See, I knew it would be a pleasure. Thank you, sir."
Yeah, you didn't get in my way. Good job.
I do try.
I guess eventually I'm going to have to ask Leandro, are you able to move?
Well, so out in the hallway, there's nothing more to stop.
No.
Okay. So after my sweet embrace with Oscar, I would, flick the blood off the axes and resheath them, and sort of like knock on the door jamb to the cell. Like I'm trying not to interrupt.
You clearly see this because he had to cut through that door. So Reto very politely knocks on like half a door.
Yes. Come in. Is the fighting over yet?
I hope not, but sounds like it.
You get from the hallway, nothing else in the hall, ma'am.
All right.
So we're going to keep cleaning up. Take your time, and we'll see what we find upstairs.
There are very likely other prisoners. You may want to check that out.
Okay. Sort of turn around to the next door, and I just like kick it in.
Yeah, you end up in a storeroom at this point, which is okay. There's various pieces of cargo here, which Rethold, I'm sure you will take full inventory of everything that's in here.
I take a nice steadying breath and just scan it, and let the moment of silence, try and let me know whether or not there's anything human in here.
Not in this one, although you hear a couple voices a bit further down the hall. Oscar is already at that door, and he peers inside. That one has a little slat, and he says, "Yeah, I think that's a makeshift brig." somebody's in there and they look very drunk.
Great.
I'm like, just one?
Two. One of them is asleep, I think, or dead.
What language?
He bangs on the door and yells through a little slat, like his voice like gets like really gruff, and he's yelling in Ison, so it's immediately more terrifying.
Yep.
And you hear a voice in Vodache on the other side. He's like either Castilian or Vodache. I'm never exactly sure.
Close enough. They're fine in there. And then I'm like, yeah, let's clear this floor and then move down and keep moving. So yeah,
all
I'm
right.
just doing a full sweep from here down and then back up. I want to chase every single one of these rats up to the top deck.
You do encounter a couple Marines when you get to the next deck, although they're talking in hushed and hurried tones with somebody who has had a bad time. They're covered in soot and blood, and it's like holding an arm that looks like very limp. And at your sight, the Marines immediately discard weapons. And
I just sort of like roll my shoulders so that the leather makes that nice creak, and I point up the stairs.
Oh, it goes. It goes. The fellow that looks more worse for wear starts trailing behind, but the 2-3 other ones don't care. They're moving out.
I whistle at him real quick.
He stops.
And I point at the gimp one and like wiggle my finger, and I'm like, that.
They immediately, at the same pace, come back down the stairs and start grabbing him and move along. Yeah, they basically you got the run of the deck. There's Rethold, the businessman in you is pleased because there's expensive shit up in here. You're finding what looks like rolled up carpets that look like they're from pretty far away. You find a room that's full of wine, different kinds of vintages, like it. No, like outside of the barracks and the armory, like no actual weapons as cargo, but lots of fineries and things that will roll a pretty guilder. If you sell.
Wine, man. I'll never touch this stuff, but even the stuff they give to the Marines is top notch in this boat. So, all
yes. Right. Unfortunately, Jimena, it is Vodache wine, not Castilian wine.
Well, Rethold knows which one gets the higher dollar. So.
But yeah, the survivors assemble on deck. You see a lot of the Marines are avoiding the vicinity of the lady who's still standing on deck. She has like people sort of around her, but not close to her. Nobody goes to check on her, and she's just standing there, like looking straight ahead.
I come back up on deck after I let the happy couple know that below decks are clear and that we're going to see what's happening upstairs. And then I schlep up to the deck and I find the tableau.
Yes. Oh yeah. As you arrive up deck, like Magnus basically raises a hand to call on to you, and he's looking at 3 different boats. And he's like, I need your expert eye. Which one of these is the worst one?
And I sort of look, and I'm like, none of them have holes in them,
No, it doesn't seem like it.
which we could remedy. So we'll come back to that. And this is in Thean. It's in Thean, so whoever. And then I look over to the now quieted deck, and is the good captain there?
Yeah, he's
no,
there.
From La Belle and Blanche.
Oh yeah. She's around. She's now stepped on deck. She's speaking with Ernesto. More of her folks are sort of crossing over. As they're planning on how they're gonna grab this thing and what they're gonna do with the cargo, and they're starting to be like, well, there's a few options here. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, no, and I'm absolutely like, Captain, your permission to begin the discussions?
By all means.
Oh, good. Jimena, you speak their slippery tongue, don't you?
I mean, yes.
Okay. I'm like, if you could please assist. How do I phrase this? I would want all of them to sit down. So
Jimena shouts like, sit, really loudly, like, hey, all of you sit.
The captain sits. Something about how he does it reminds you of a child.
He's been scolded.
As his
trouble.
knees sort of prop up, right? And he's dressed like in a very fine coat and hat, but right now he does not look his station.
And I'm like, oh, wait, we didn't kill them all. Did they offer us something good?
I think so. We have, well, this one, and she points, like, looks straight at him and points at him.
Oh, he's looking at the deck.
This one says he has information about the
Mondavi?
like the Mondavi. I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Plot?
Operations
Yeah.
in San Felipe.
As soon as you say that, I just walk right over to him and grab him and drag him out of the croup and hold him up off his feet. And staring him dead in the eyes, I say, leaning my head over to him, and I go, how does he know we care?
Because Jenya gave it away.
Because when
The whole time he's being dragged, Jimena, like up to where like he's in Rethold's face, and he's not talking at Rethold now, like he's sort of looking away, but he's sort of whining like, we had a deal, what is this, we had a deal.
Yeah, it's part of deal. you did not. You made the specifics of deal. But she's like, yeah, because when I asked about it, Zhenya stopped fighting and seemed really interested. So I think that he knows that that's a thing that we would want. But also, I said that was a thing we would want, so that's how he knows that it's a thing we would want.
Who mentioned San Felipe first?
Him.
That's what I'm curious about.
One of the Marines basically says in accented PN, he points at the woman on the deck and said, "She told us you would be coming." And then another one in even more broken TN is like, "This is her fault. That's why we're here." And he sort of spits at her.
Jeez.
Zhenya backhands that one real fast.
I put the
Oh,
captain. I put the captain down, and I go over the one that was
Yeah.
Does that
backhanded.
guy want to die? What's up with
Yeah.
this?
And I go to the one that was backhanded, and I just sort of like slide him out of the group, and I'm like, I just sort of like gesture, whoever's closest, Magnus, Zhenya, whoever, because no.
Yeah, you're closest, having
Yeah.
done the backhanding.
And then I sort of address whoever. I'm like, so she said San Felipe first.
The Marine, the original one who spoke, said she never says anything that's that precise. She said calamity was coming from San Felipe and that we had to be prepared.
I look down at
Calamity is us.
I look down at this one and I go, stand up.
He does so.
And I'm like, does he look a little older? Does he look grizzled? Does he look like he's been around a bit?
He looks a little more grizzled. He's clearly not losing a shit the same way as his captain. In fact, there's a bit of disgust in his words at his captain's conduct, but yeah, he does seem a little bit older.
I look over at the captain and I'm like, is this a soldier of good standing?
He's sort of, what? Yes. Yes. He is. Federico's above reproach.
I look over, I go, Federico. And I sort of point to myself, I go, Rethold.
He gives you a nod, and you get a well-conducted operation.
And I sort of wryly smile and nod towards the witch, and I'm like, we get some help too. How do you feel about transporting humans?
Never been too keen on it myself. I prefer protecting cargo over people.
I go, all right, Federico. Let me know out of these men who are sitting here that you think is in line with your opinions.
He sort of looks back and pauses. And he says, permission to speak freely, sir.
By all means.
I would not put my good name on any of them.
Ooh, we found one good one though.
I'd like to remind you, Rethold, that when we found some cargo before, she was also a person. So I'm not sure if they are understanding what is cargo, what is people. Shit.
Sasha's having a fit over there.
I give a yeah. And so I move Federico over, and I'm like, that at least whittles it down. The rest of them can go swim.
Federico basically at Genia's words. Basically says, "I do not presume to sway your hand, ma'am. You have the right of the ship. Our lives are in your hands. But for myself, if you're referring to the lady here, I think there are more folks who have not chosen the bad circumstances that were thrust upon them." You see like some disdain in the men. They don't say anything because the one you backhanded is still weak in the knees. So they know better to speak, but this is clearly not a popular opinion.
Genia looks at the others and gives a very guttural bear growl.
Yeah, they find other things to look at.
I sort of catch that, and I'm like, "Oh no, please, by all means!" And I just clobber one of them with the axe, and I'm like, "This is all bad bait. Chum the waters."
Of course. And just picks up handfuls.
Oh yeah. It's
Magnus?
You get the test, but Magnus helps. If you even utter his names, he's got one under each arm. And there's even like a
can't lift
stop
anybody.
crying. Stop, just stop. Shut your mouth. And he's holding one like over the side of the ship, and he's like, "If you don't stop blubbering, I'm gonna hold you like this until just face it like a man. Just stop."
Jimena feels left out because she can't lift anybody up to throw off the ship.
Well, if anyone looks like they're going to take it with some matter of stoicism, feel free to give them the blade. At least that's a better way to go.
Well, she's like, "Man, I can't lift anybody. This isn't fun." And then she's like, "Oh,
But I
wait though." And she strikes her fire belt, and she just like has a flame in her hand and is like, "Okay." And she just tries to make herself as creepy as possible to make dudes like back away from her. And then she just throws fire at them to knock them off the ship.
Yeah, like
Hey, I did it
two of
too.
them fall. A third one is sort of caught between your display and Magnus's display of, stop hitting yourself before I toss you in this water. So he just decides he's gonna go. He leaps over. He's like, "All right, I'm going.
So while they clean the deck, I would look over to whoever is nearest to the captain, to the Vodace captain, and be like, "Whoever speaks his language, if you could have a little interview with him and notate what you find about the goings on in San Felipe, and then we'll see what's left of him after that."
I would love to have an interview with that guy.
Well, you as this is happening, Marlena, you're actually coming off your slow ascent. Your husband at this point is more determination than strength as far as getting out of this boat. And
I mean, I feel like I would have let him take more time on the way up because he's probably not going to want to look like a total hot mess. I mean,
you suggested it, but you sense that there something in his words basically show he's ready to be out of here.
no, absolutely.
So he's leaning on you hard. Those of you who are up deck see Marlena come up with a shirtless, scraggly-looking man with unkempt hair, a very disheveled beard, clearly missing an eye.
Which eye?
Left.
Okay. I don't know why I care, but yeah, I do care. I gotta get the image in my head, you know.
He sort of squints as he gets up deck at all the light. It's not that light out, but
Well,
it's
he's
clearly
been in the dark
it's
for a
clearly
long
a
time.
lot for him. And he looks like he's sort of trying to comprehend everything that's happening up here, which is at this point has changed from chaos to more business. People have been tossed on board.
Are they already all tossed?
Most of them.
By then,
Most
there's
of
like
them.
a last few splashes. I reassure him that the people that remain are almost all of my friends.
Basically, you see a weepy looking man in fineries, which you recognize as one of the high ranking members of the ship from when you first jumped on board. He looks much worse for wear now. He hasn't been beaten that you can tell.
So are there only the two left, the captain and Federico?
It will be
the witch.
It will be that way soon.
Okay. I want to read people.
So
First
yeah.
thing.
While after we push off, or after I tell them to have a chat with the Vodace captain, I would ask Federico, what's the story about the two men in the brig?
He basically like sort of scoffs and said, the Strega warned us that danger was coming, so we were under strict orders to prepare for what was ahead. These two got drunk, played cards, got into a fist fight, they were thrown in the brig because I'm sure one of them is still pissed drunk, and we could not have that amongst our midst. There was a lot of nervousness yesterday. In fact, the nobles wanted to throw them overboard just to stave off the potential bad luck. So
I let out like a really audible snort.
I'm like soldiers or soldiers or beasts.
He sort of like pauses for a moment and he's like, children playing soldier.
And I turned to Marilena. I'm like, ready for some fact finding?
As ready as I can be.
Feel free
Marilena,
to.
The moment Marilena stepped on deck, those of you who are close to the other lady on deck, almost mechanically, her head sort of rose and then turned toward Marilena, and she's now looking at her straight through her veil.
I would, I would have finished that thought where I'd say, "Let us know what you need," and then I would have walked right over to her, to the other Strega. I would have just like stood over her and sort of like settled in, like I'm on watch.
Barely above a whisper, Rethold, she says to you in Vodace, Jimena, you're close enough that you would hear this. She says, you're the new master, so I must inform. She is Strega, and she is on board.
Okay. Jimena goes,
I was instructed to find Strega. You're the new master, so you are now informed.
Oh, I let out a long sigh at this.
Jimena goes
Like, who died and made Rethold master?
Was the one throwing his weight around.
She says you're the new master, so she needs to tell you that Marilena is Strega, but we know that already. But she says she has to tell you because apparently you're the new master of this ship.
The captain cannot, despite his cowardice at this exchange, cannot stop himself from doing a double take at Marilena.
I just smile at him.
Like this does not compute. That's not what this is supposed to look like.
I just turn and grin at him and nod my head like, yeah, fucker, welcome to this universe.
Also, now that he knows, he probably can't leave us ever. Unless he dies.
Welcome to the
Priest Strega is not somebody that needs to be known by anyone in Vodachi.
Oh yeah.
Welcome, newest Jose.
So yeah, get to reading, Marilena. Let us know what you find. I'd be curious. Actually, yeah. So does it sound like the Vodachi captain speaks Thean?
No.
It's just Federico who does, huh?
Yeah.
So in Thean, I would say to Marilena, it's like, he keeps swapping between my family and them. Maybe we should figure out that first.
Yes. I mean, do I recognize him at all? Is that something? Okay.
No. Nope. You don't recognize this man. So who are you gonna attempt to read?
I'll read Captain first, I suppose.
Okay. So the captain's virtue, which actually brings a smile to your lips, is the wheel. Fortunate.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Well, he did survive this battle, so.
Oh, I see. Maybe.
His hubris is the beggar. Envious.
Huh.
Federico's virtue is reunion. Exemplary.
Okay.
His hubris is actually the opposite. Also the wheel. Unfortunate.
Wow. That's interesting. All right.
And are you getting a read on the Strega too?
Sure. I mean, if she knows what she's doing, she's probably reading me. Oh, wait, does she need to know? It's right here.
Her virtue is, where's that one? Her virtue is the devil, astute.
Okay.
Her hubris is the war, loyal.
That is not surprising. Okay. Besides that, I would like to know. I forgot what I called the thing. I I guess I'll pattern sight now. Because first of all, kinda between these three people, like, I mean, what are their connections to one another? And can I actually even, I'm not even sure I could see this, but is there a way that I could tell how close they are to the Mandavi just from like?
You can try.
I guess, do we have anything that belonged to them? No. Anyway, yeah, I can always try.
Well, everything
here belongs to them, yeah?
basically. The ship is owned by the Mondavi.
Sort of along that line, if the witch has tried to read me, let me know, because I would have burned a hero point to cancel it out.
You don't. You're here, like, you're still sort of in battle mode in a way, like you're not sensing any hostility from her.
No, she's an extremely good witch.
She's
as the Vodachi
for
would
what it's
tell it.
worth, Rethold, she feels more like an extension of the ship in the sense that there's a clear like change in ownership that just happened here.
Okay, but as far as so I wouldn't have to burn the hero point to prevent her from reading. Okay.
No, I'm gonna give you that one.
Okay.
You don't foresee there's been any magic effect.
Actually, you know what? Instead of just reading them, I'm actually going to walk up to the captain. And I'm going to say...
He flinches slightly as you enter his personal space.
Jimmy growls again at him.
You know what I am? Did you know this prisoner you had here? Was this just a job to you?
Leandro is there, sort of shivering.
I made sure he was like put somewhere that he could actually just sit.
He's looking straight at the captain.
Jen would hold Leandro up after giving a military bow and offering her arm.
You get no words, just like a very grateful nod. He's focusing his eye on the captain. The captain looks at him, and he looks at him, and he looks away, and then he looks at him like he's clearly like sort of ashamed. Right, like but he says, I don't know the particulars. Just that we needed to bring him back home. That he was our key to capturing a Strega.
Myself, yes.
And potentially bringing down the daughters.
I have to kill the captain too.
Leandro spits what looks like a glob of blood.
I actually lean like closer to the captain and I say, he did not crack, did he? You got nothing.
He basically looks down at this point. He's no longer looking at you, and he says, that's why we're bringing him back home.
What is your relationship to the Mondavi? Are you one of the blood?
No.
I'm gonna use my empathy. Is you telling the truth?
While she's having that chat, I sort of like nod over towards who's the quartermaster of the Belle Blanche?
The quartermaster is
The lady.
Ernesto.
Natasha?
Oh, it is Ernesto?
Oh, is it
Yep.
Ernesto?
Yeah, I'd be like, Ernesto, we've got a big albatross here that we can put to work in allocating some of our new found goods. I'm sure he'll be indispensable in figuring out what's of what worth and what we want to put on the Belle and what we want to keep on this boat.
Yes, good eye. I always appreciate the help. Anything that means I have to lift less.
I got 12. I'm looking who is sold.
Yeah. No, he's telling the truth. He's working his way up. Very likely. This is not unlikely there. People attach themselves to powerful patrons, and maybe, when you get good enough at your job, you beg for the good scraps at the master's table. That's the life he's very likely leading. He's actually very vehemently denying being of the blood at this point. If you had approached him in different circumstances yesterday, he probably would have claimed how many of the Mondavi he actually knew and how many jobs he'd done for them. But right now, he's definitely not related.
I guess the next thing I say is, what is most important to you in life?
He looks like a deer in the headlight right now because it looks like you asked him a test question and he doesn't he doesn't know what the right answer is. Clearly what he wants to answer is probably not the right thing to say, so it's like, well, I'm a merchant captain. I've always wanted to do a good job and show the pride of the Vadace merchant navy, and you hear from the back of the ship from Federico, profit. It's profit.
That's what I thought, but I thank you for confirming. I actually step away from him slightly and I turn to Rethel, then I say, I would not keep that one.
Oh no. I'm still considering in what way we're going to let him live after he gives us the information.
Information?
Apparently, our new friend here, and I sort of looked down at the other Fate Witch, I was like, inform them that we were coming from San Felipe, and so when Giggles there decided he was done, offered up what he knew of the Mondavi operations in San Felipe.
Yeah, I go back towards the captain, taking my time, sauntering on back over there. And I say, you have information?
Well, yes. I mean, I was liaison to the Mondavi. Lord Francesco himself has welcomed us in his trade house.
Yes, and what was the cargo you carried for him?
Well, mostly supplies. I'm sure a lady of your standing knows that the Mondavi are trying to break into southern Castile.
Oh yes, we are aware.
There's a fierce competition between the merchant princes as to who will have that lucrative market. Of course, the locals are making it difficult.
I bark loudly pointedly at the Vodace captain.
I
And
he sort of turtles a little bit.
I sort of lean and I'm like, we have gone into the forests of Isen and come back out with our skin. The better information you give us, the better life we will leave you with. Stop telling us
I
what we already
translate
know.
word for word, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, he says, I have
Jimenez is like,
manifests.
"Ooh."
I have the location of his warehouses, and I have some details about the plans to step up to the daughters.
Yes.
And almost too loud for his frail body, Leandro, like almost like half states, half shouts. They're planning a rise against Salvadora.
I start
Oh,
laughing.
Ooh, stiffen.
It's like
I
people
look at
keep
the
saying
captain
all
and
the wrong words.
I say, quite honestly, I don't think you know anything we don't already know or cannot find out ourselves. I turn back to Rethel and say, do what you will. I walk away.
I
I mean, if you want to keep him, you can. But I really don't think that he would have anything that I couldn't ask my husband.
I sort of take one more glance down at the witch that's sitting there on deck, and I'm sort of like, because it sounded like she speaks Steen.
No, she spoke in Vodace the last time. Jimena just translated for you.
Okay.
I mean, I'll go up to her. Oh, also, before I do that, very likely these documents he's talking about is somewhere on this ship if he has them at all. No reason for him to live.
Magnus, if you could escort the good captain and have him unlock everything, write out any of the information he thinks we'll find useful. If you could help him with that, that'd be appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And he grabs him by the neck of his coat and sort of lifts him slightly. And he's like, let's go. I want to see your ship. Give me the
and
tour.
invest in. I'm like, don't worry, Captain. Magnus is a fan of literature.
Nice.
Yes, yes.
But once that's squared away, I turn to the other Strega and I stand up too close to her and I ask her what her name is.
She says, without hesitation, Lavinia.
What a pretty name.
Yeah.
Now that you're this close to her, like, this girl can't be over 16 or 17.
Oh dear. Wait, how old is Veronica?
She's supposed to be 2 years.
Veronica's only like 2 or 3 years younger than Jenya, so she's probably 19, 20 at this time.
I mean, a little younger. Anyway, just curious. I say, Lavinia, now that you have met us, your life cannot return to the way it was. But I will not have you killed or set away.
So your friends are the masters, I understand.
No, not quite. You may find employment with us, certainly, but you are not owned. That is not how we do things. In fact, the first time I met most of these people, they freed me.
I am not owned, I serve. And there is no freedom from the gift.
That is certainly true. That is something I learned every day of my life. That said, you can learn to serve without losing your own humanity, without losing the opportunity to make your own choices. Of course, because we have the gift, we have to be careful how we use it.
I sort of get the tone of this conversation, and I put my hand down to her to help her up.
To who? To
Lavinia, I assume.
Lavinia?
Wasn't she standing?
Yeah, she's standing.
Oh,
She's just very small.
She looks like a creepy automaton right now, really. She's just standing like real straight with her hands like sort of folded in her lap.
oh, okay. I thought she was sitting too.
No.
All right. I sort of glance between the two, and I just sort of look, and I'm like, Lavinia?
That is my name.
Translate.
Yeah.
As needed.
What is your bidding?
And I'm
Should
like,
I curse the captain?
I chuckle, and I'm like, there's no bidding. We don't know what your job is on either ship yet.
Mm.
Well, I can read and interpret portents, and I can curse and bless.
Good things to do.
I sort of nod towards Marilena. I'm like, have you ever considered what you might rather be doing?
She pauses and looks at you and says, no.
Maybe get started.
When you've been raised in it, it can be hard to start that path. Well,
We have done her a great unkindness.
I'm not sure about that just yet.
Well, the same one as you.
I'm gonna work with this. So I turn back to Lavinia and I say, change does not happen in a day. But I will say that pretty much every one of my friends will be very uncomfortable if you ask them what their bidding is.
I don't know about that.
I understand. Then I will await for tasks.
One thing I can suggest, perhaps, since you have not had either the opportunity or the desire to seek other interests, perhaps you can spend some time with each of us. See what we are all doing and what it is you might like to do. You will also work, of course. The skill that we have, blessing and curse as it is, can be used for noble ends, all the same as ill ones. And my friends are all good people.
Jimena chuckles.
I mean, I laughed myself a little bit when I said it. Whose heart is in the right place. But the thing that is most important is that what you do going forward is not just what we tell you should do, but also that you believe it as much as we do. I cannot, in good conscience, have you stay with us if you don't truly embrace what we are and how we do things. So, yes, choose a person, follow them for a day, see how they live their life, and see what resonates with yourself.
She stays standing for now and basically says, "Well, I have nowhere else to go.
Of course.
So I will do as you say."
Good enough. It will take time. It is a long project. Rathold here, he knows all about long projects. Oh yeah, I got to deal with drunk and drunker.
But what do we do with these drunken sailors?
Well done.
Yay, your favorite sport.
Yep. Yeah,
Nice.
that's absolutely correct. And you only got about a half a day of sailing to get back there, so all doable. Yeah.
Man, 2 ships in 1 day. It's like Christmas came early or something,
This is a good day.
or whichever holiday, Scandinavian holiday.
It must be a solstice.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, after a little bit,
Start with a raven, so
Magnus shows back up top after a little bit, still walking with / carrying the captain, and basically says, "Everything's unlocked. I got him to show me everything, including the secrets. Took a little bit coaxing for the second part of it, but we got there." And he shakes him a little bit. Yeah, so all yours. I think I can walk to this and back in my sleep right now. So he sort of pats the captain, who like takes a step forward.
I slide another barrel to the mainmast, and I'm like, "Have a seat."
You don't have to ask him twice. He plops on the barrel.
I grab some cord nearby and I tie him to the mast. And I'm like, this is going to be your station for the time being.
He nods.
Let us know if
Side.
you need to go over the side, or if you're when was the last time you ate?
He looks sort of at a loss. Like, I don't know, 3 hours ago.
Oh, good. You'll be fine for a while. I sort of pat him too hard.
Rethel, as you're walking across the ship, Lavinia is now seated, although more or less in the same position.
I turn around and I go, or I ask someone to translate for me, and ask the captain, which cabin is the third nicest?
The third nicest. You get a cabin indicated. Who was for one of the ranking officers. The nicest being the one that was occupied by the master, followed by his son. Apparently the captain did not have the third nicest cabin, but what do you know?
I grab a shipmate that speaks Vodace, and I'm like, what's your name?
Are you grabbing one of the... Which of the shipmates are you grabbing? One of La Baleine Blanche, or...
Yeah, there's so many ships now.
Yeah, whoever's handy.
You
Hank.
actually get paired up with one of the Crescents, who speaks Vodace.
Cool.
Who introduces himself as Kadim.
All right, I grab Kadeen, and I'm like, Kadeen, are you particularly superstitious?
Yes and no.
Good. And I come over and I go, Kadeen, this is Lavinia. I go, Lavinia, this is Kadeen.
He bows to her, and she sort of stays statue and inclines her head a little bit.
And I go, wherever your quarters, to Lavinia, I'm like, wherever your quarters were before, they will now be this cabin for the time being, as we can't have you stood out here on the deck the whole time. You hungry?
She takes like a long time to respond, and then says, "Yes, I believe I am."
Great. Avail yourself of the mess, and then Kadeen can help you move whatever belongings you may or may not have into the next room, and take anything out of it that you might not like. Is that all right with you, Kadeen?
It's very likely she never took her meals there.
Yeah. Like, are you good with that, Kadeen?
Yeah, that all sounds fine.
Good man.
And he steps next to her, and then Vodace says, "After you, ma'am," and she doesn't move.
Oh dear.
So he repeats it slower, like suddenly he's self-conscious of his Vodace. After the third time, he's like, why don't I show you the way if you can follow me? And the moment he says that, she stands up and sort of props herself like right behind him and starts following him to the room.
It will take time. Poor thing.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're splitting treasure. I feel like we would divvy it up into proper shares.
Yeah.
According to La Belle Blanche's papers, because this was absolutely a raid. I would request a provision for a amount of shares to go to our company.
Yes.
Zhenya declines a share.
I sort of
And I was like, that's okay, I'll take hers.
underneath Jimena, I'm like, maybe we'll save those for Veronica's dowry.
And then we're just kind of, okay.
I'm like, do you want to split it, Jimena? Do you have a dowry planned?
Jimena looks at me like she doesn't understand the question.
Okay.
Captain Honore basically says, as the organizers of this raid, you will get the lion's share of the spoils. She basically just asks for whatever can be used to resupply the ship, and cover some basic salaries for the crew, a sort of compensation. But everything else, she basically says, well, Salvador will not be able to claim any of this because this was taken from a business partner. So that is all happening below board now. And it seems like you have some operations to finance and a fort to refurbish. So if you want to open the fund to use that, by all means. It seems like the things contained in the ship will sell for quite a bit.
Well, of course, Isla de San Jose will always be a friendly port of call to the Belle and Blanche. And
she seems really amused by that and says, well, if nothing else, I'm always an investor. So
and a large portion of the spoils will basically be just the ship, which is going to be a large chunk of that. And then probably
The Crescent, Sunny? The Crescent ship?
Oh yeah.
Did they-
No, I imagine we would definitely give them a more than just the shares that the crewmates who came with us as compensation for joining in on the raid. Both of them.
Yeah.
Really.
We have a whole fleet now, guys. Jeez.
The extra four
and a stronghold.
The extra four who were basically freed from the fort looks like already considering joining the Sable Wren. That seems to be up their speed, so they might be getting a few more crewmates out of this arrangement.
Yep. And then there's a ghost ship that's going to need a name once it's refitted, and I sort of tap my foot on the deck. And then there's a swift sloop already docked, so we'll definitely need to stock those. But who knows, maybe we'll find some help from San Felipe as well. I know I'm definitely going to be, or Mendez is going to be subcontracting some individuals from the ship work at San Felipe to basically pull a deck off of this one and redo its profile, because I don't want anyone knowing that this is the same ship. Besides,
Good.
I don't need all these cannons. Third of them is going to go on the island, so
Yeah.
We can
gotta
paint it
fortify
black.
that bitch.
Nice.
Give it black sails.
Hey, wait,
Yeah.
do we need a flag now? Do we have a flag?
Yeah,
Well,
we do.
thing.
Retold made the design
Oh,
last time.
right.
I've already got a
Right.
mark.
Yeah.
We can
That's
absolutely.
You're right.
ship and you want to paint it black.
We can
Megan,
absolutely.
I think Tony might have posted that at last session. So let me see if
I saw that one.
gotcha.
I didn't realize that's what it was, like that it was the flag, but I saw that it exists.
The 2 M's
Yeah.
with the rune.
It can absolutely be modified to better represent the shipping branch of Mendez y Mendez.
I mean, it's like
So,
it just has like a ship on it along with it. What?
no bad ideas.
No bad. I don't know about that.
As subcontractors of Mendez y Mendez,
Right.
you
big
are
old turkey leg. And
as senior subcontractors of Mendez y Mendez, you are afforded quite a bit of say in its corporate dealings. So, feel free.
right. That's part of the board.
Yeah. So I think, we turn that sucker around and head right back to our new island.
Yeah, there is a definitely joyous mood as this ship gets turned around. The captain, tied to the mast, is dead quiet. Marlena, Leandro basically staggers with you to La Belle and Blanche, where he immediately gets a lot of his immediate needs tended to.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure he would like to clean up a lot, but I think when there's an opportunity, I'll tell him various things about the people I travel with, some of the things we've been up to, because I don't really know how much he actually got from my letters. I talk about the business back home. I also give him a fair warning that like we are not going to have a peaceful life. But I figure he already knows that.
At some point when Jenny decides it's appropriate, she brings Ricardo to Marilena and Leandro and offers her hands to Leandro.
He's by this point he's taken care of. He's got multiple moms and dads apparently on the ship because he's got a blanket on his shoulder. He's got a bowl of soup. There's like water and wine that was offered to him. No pressure. It was like, pick whatever you need most right now. No judgments. But when he sees you approach, he actually puts the soup down and stand up and takes the hand. And in practiced, Thien just says, "Thank you for coming to my aid, but most importantly, for taking care of Marilena."
Oh, well, Zhenya's also spending a hero point to take all of his pain. Which is why she brought Ricardo.
Yeah. Ricardo's ready for it. So
I gave myself the next dramatic wound.
Yeah. You take a lot. You feel like you've been beaten with quarterstaves like for what feels like a week. You feel tenderized. You see bruises appear on your skin. You feel famished suddenly.
But you took the hunger too, huh?
As it takes you, you only have like just a moment of a little stagger, and you feel Ricardo sort of bracing you as it happens and sort of keeping you upright as it hits you. And Leandro almost immediately seems like he realized what just happened because you're now covered in bruises and cuts, and lets go of your hand, blushing, all the same because he seems like he committed a faux pas, but now he realizes like, oh my God, what did I do? And
You
he's
did nothing, husband.
well.
It is how she heals. And she wished to do it, and she was well prepared for the consequences. Thank you, Zhenya.
Of course, no one should have to feel like this.
He looks like he's about to say like 3 different things, and then settles on "thank you." As he's sort of watching you, and Ricardo is sort of like, "You're good." He sort of be like, "Do you need anything now? Because I mean, you look like you could eat a horse. I don't know if I can make that happen. I will try."
I've eaten a horse before. It's all right.
That does not surprise me.
They are tough for me, but in a pinch, it's what you need. She do not worry. Matushka heals me, so this will not last long.
He pauses and says, "Well, thank you. I see now my wife was in good hands."
I learned a fair few things myself while you were away. Some
So
of them,
so it seems.
some less savory than others, but it is what it is.
We all do what we must.
Certainly.
And he sort of sits back down and says, "There's probably a lot you have to plan for, but in time, when you need this, I can speak with you and your friends and help put some of these pieces together."
Ah, yes. I do think we'll have a little time at least. What was our... Actually, I don't actually remember. We had a timeline, didn't we? I have to look at my own notes.
Well, yeah,
The timeline was just, it was a half a day's out and a half a day's back, so we'd probably make it back in a day.
But what I mean is, like,
the timeline otherwise.
more like the stuff we were going to do in San Felipe. Because at this point, we've done...
you have a list. I don't know that all of it was timed.
We've pretty much done all those things. So, like, except for killing all the Mandavi. So I guess we first on the slash
two
board.
down.
The only thing that was timed is that by the time you make it back to San Felipe, Jose should now be guard captain. So
Yeah, we're mostly trying to just get all this done as fast as possible to get back to San Felipe to continue starting
So
the
we-
revolution.
Kill the Inquisition.
yeah.
Burn them to pieces.
Strategic decisions made.
After that, Jenya will excuse herself and walk tall out of the door. But once they're out of sight, will completely collapse.
Oh,
She doesn't have anything left, guys.
oh,
She can only heal herself once a day. And she took 2 this day.
yeah.
If I don't know where Jimena is, but if she sees you collapse, she's like, "Oh no!" Like, I think
Have a
think
food?
this one.
Oh,
You should drink this.
thank you.
Here's a tincture.
Is it the one she gave you?
What?
No.
Well, hers was more of a paste.
But it is on the "these should be healing elixirs" belt, as opposed to "these should be the ones that explode" belt.
Right. These ones melt your face off.
Jenya has a, "I trust you because you're my friend, but I'll wait till Ricardo gets me somewhere to lay down before."
Yeah, this is like the plan. Basically, has all these things, which we've all done.
I've seen all your shit explode. Your
you
workshop is next to my
feel like
garden.
where you have poison immunity, right?
I have cast iron stomach.
Ah.
Yeah,
So,
kind of.
Yeah, you know.
Worst case scenario.
I have
I
cast iron
have-
stomach and able
Right.
drinkers, so I'm pretty much.
As long as it's
I'm at
not
three for
outright
magical-
poison.
Please don't.
So at the very least, it shouldn't make you vomit.
Okay.
It shouldn't.
And even if it is outright
Yeah.
poison, it'll just suck. You know, it won't. It's not.
Oh,
It shouldn't be poison. It shouldn't be.
Pretty
And
sure.
The more you sure, the less
The
sure
less
it's
poison it is what she thinks it is higher.
the best apothecary. You have
Maybe
poison immunity, right?
you're like Miracle Max.
It might turn you into a llama. I don't know.
That happened once.
Yes, for once, Ricardo gets to be the manly one.
Oh yeah. You get escorted to your room.
I feel like once he realizes that, like all of his like muscles get bigger and like his shirt is like stretching and it doesn't burst.
Yeah, the shirt looks like it's one size too small.
Wow.
It's like, was it like did he always get that so ill fit? What? I don't.
I don't remember this.
Right.
He like gained a level. All those strength.
As you get escorted to your quarters, Veronica had stepped in there.
Uh-oh.
In the meantime, to swap some of her stuff around, and as she sees this happening, she looks at you, looks at Ricardo, looks back at you, and then puts her pistol back in her belt, grabs a book, and then she's like, "I'm going up top," and just leaves.
By the way, does La Belle Blanche have a barber?
Yeah, the surgeon.
Yep,
Yeah.
He cuts hair, he pulls teeth.
He cuts things.
it's that old lady.
Yeah.
She's the ship surgeon. So yeah, she's the barber.
I mean, yeah. I asked him if I asked the author if he needs some manscaping.
Whoa.
Yeah, he basically says if you know someone,
Well, I know that they have someone
I-
here.
I don't think I can.
I mean, I love you regardless of how your hair looks. But if it helps you feel a little more human, then I think it's something we should do.
Well, there's definitely some grime here that it would probably be better to chop some of it off than try to clean it off.
That is certainly true. Well, let's go find this lady whose name I don't remember.
The surgeon is called Miroslava.
Okay.
She if you bring your husband over, like she doesn't even hide her double take. she sort of looks at him and is like,
Oh, that face.
Damn.
I at least had the sense to suppress that.
she's like, you can do better than that. Where do you find him?
I found him on the other ship that we just captured. He was a prisoner for months, if not. Yes.
Does he live in the woods? Like what happened to you?
No, we've been in the woods. This was worse than the woods.
She sort of looks at him and she's like, "You look like you could use a good bleeding." And he sort of shakes his head and is like, I've already given on that front, man. I don't think I can take another one. But he's like, if you could help, and he
Situation. We have
yeah
a situation here.
she sort of looks back at him and she's like, I'll do what I can. And I have to chop a couple inches.
Do what you must.
All right, well, you leave him to me. You get out of here.
You get out of here.
All
You
right.
get
Well,
outta
I'm sure
here.
he has some very interesting stories to tell you about how he ended up that way, if you really must know.
Yeah, I don't know that I want
No,
to.
it's fine.
That's
fine.
also probably for the best. I will come back in however long it takes. I give him my kiss before I go.
We interrupt this heartfelt moment to inform you of JC's anime habits
Okay.
and also popcorn, apparently.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Just
Oh, we can hear
describe
you
it.
just fine.
Wait, is this about Hatful boyfriend names?
No.
No, I'm actually watching
That's
real
worse.
anime, and I'm 6 episodes in of season 1, and I started it when you guys started playing. It's the one about the gambling at the school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Kakegurui! I love that show.
It's really filthy, and I'm really enjoying it. Highly recommend.
Oh, what's her name again? The crazy one with the eye patch.
Yep.
She's
I
a
don't know.
piece of work.
But lots of lesbian and sex overtones. It's really great. Watch it. Goodbye.
Yes, I enjoy it very much. I have read all the manga as well.
Oh, a connoisseur. All right. That smells really good. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you drop off your husband at in the hands of this surgeon, maybe barber. Who knows? It'll be like that video where that lady gets her head chopped off with that butcher's cleaver. Amazing. If you haven't checked that, he's cutting the points. Good times.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, you have basically half a day to get maybe a little bit more because now you're not going full swing to try to catch up anymore, and you have 2 ships. So give or take, but the winds are favorable, so you can head that way. Zhenya, you get food brought to you, various kinds, in case you're in different moods. Yeah, there's almost a feel of like, when else is this gonna happen? So I gotta get it all in. So you get the whole pampering experience.
So weird. It's okay.
I know. Which is why this may never happen again in our lifetime. So I'm gonna get it all in. I'm gonna do it now. We'll always have the memory.
We'll always have this memory when you stole another man's pain, and I got to finally take care of you for once.
Right? That one time.
Oh.
But yeah, Veronica, meanwhile, just fucked off to parts unknown. So yeah, she shows up above deck, chatting a little bit with the crew, and yeah, documenting primarily. She actually comes in to introduce herself when Leandro comes out.
She's like, "Who's that guy, though?"
Right?
He's
definitely much cleaner.
I was like,
his
Jenny
beard-
could heal his eye, but not grow him a new one. So
No. So it is. For now, he's got a bandage over it. But
I mean, soon
there's
he
no
will
wound.
upgrade to a sexy eye patch.
His beard has been trimmed. His hair is now tied back and no longer so scraggly. He was given some clothes that are a little too big. The shirt is
He'll probably grow into it though. He must
Yeah.
have lost a lot of weight.
No, he did. But he already looks more hale and hearty, although he's a little unsteady still. More food is brought to him as he comes aboard, and he's like, I can't right now. Like maybe in a bit. He does sip water, and he eyes the wine, but thinks better of it for now.
Why somehow that seems familiar.
Yeah, and he comes and sit up top and sort of leans against one of the crates and sort of looks like he's taking that sea air.
Oh, must be nice. Yeah, I know. Like, he probably doesn't want to stay below deck a lot. Hopefully, nowhere near the captain, though. I go up to find him.
No, Captain stayed on the other ship, so you guys are good.
Frederico's, well, if it's only a half day's sail, right?
Yep.
After we did some goods shuffling between the two ships, actually most of the goods are probably going to need to go onto the Belle and Blanche anyway, as much less of it is going to go on the new sloop, and then a chunk of it's probably going to go onto the Sable Wren, and an even smaller portion is going to stay on the island. Frederico, once any moving of things around is done, he can go to the brig on the Belle and Blanche for now, as we don't totally have a bead on him.
Sure. Yeah, he when you inform him of this, he's very he's very cooperative. Doesn't fuss and goes to the brig.
Yeah, I just don't want him in the brig with the other two drunkards.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not ready to give him his own cot yet, so.
That's all right. He has to
absolutely
prove
fair.
himself more.
I'm thinking Frederico and the captain, the Vodace captain, basically stay on the island in exile. That way the good captain can learn the fine art of emptying out chamber pots. And maybe they can put Frederico to work doing maybe
Landscaping. Landscaping.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Make him
maybe
a foreman over there.
Yeah, they'll definitely need a hand rebuilding some of those fortifications.
Yep.
So if he can be trusted after a while, then we'll see about getting him in as someone who can have his own choices later.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
would
did
like
we
to
all
add
think-
that when Evine comes to meet our newest crew member, it is the only time you will see her and hear her coming the entire time. Because
Whoa!
she doesn't want to freak him out.
Makes
Just be like, hello.
Oh yeah. Again, you get at your approach, which has ample preparation. He actually gets to his feet again and extends a hand.
She'll shake with a confusingly firm handshake for her size.
Yeah, there's some appreciation in that. He says again, thank you for your help in keeping Marilena safe. I think I might have seen some of your handiwork on the ship, but something tells me I'm not sure.
Oh, yes, probably was.
Well,
Because he notices the bow on your back and says,
I mean, I once saw her shoot a strange creature from the inside.
that, well, there's definitely a story there.
Oh yes, we all have some. You'll find out about them soon enough.
He says, I couldn't help but notice the arrows around the girl when I came up on deck,
Yes.
and you spared her. That is good. She is part of a game that she had no choice to join and has no concept of what it is like not to be seated at that table.
Mm.
Yes, I think she will learn. She is young enough.
She was used to sniff out those who left.
Yes, she did say that.
Sooner or later, it'll come back up to the surface. The fact that she, more or less, was responsible in getting some of her sisters killed.
Well, we'll process that when she gets there.
But all the same, it makes me feel so much better to see that Marilena had such hardy companions walking with her. Almost makes me feel rather silly and inadequate for worrying after she disappeared.
Oh, don't feel silly about that. It does pain me that she went through so much because you couldn't let go of me. But all the same, I'm also selfish and I'm glad you're here.
Well, he sort of pulls out like a couple seats in case Evine wants to sits down with them, because he looks like he's needing to sit again. So by true politeness, he pulls a couple of seats and says, when you vanished without a trace, I refuse to believe what was told to me, that you had simply chosen to forsake your life. They said you had met someone else, that you had run off to explore your newfound freedom. I believe none of it. And when I refused to believe anything of it, well, things started not to go so well for me. The family cut ties. My business was closed. My family cast me away. And my business associates saw me as a pariah and refused to deal with me anymore. So
that's one of the many ways they perpetuate how things are back home.
I took to wine and I took to the streets, and I decided to go and find the truth, but I was fully unprepared for it. I overestimated my ability. I'm a merchant, but I thought, well, come from a minor noble house. I've been taught swordsmanship. I can defend myself. And I went to chase your trail, but was not careful enough. And I was ambushed.
It's hard to be, quite honestly. the people that are after me now, they are no pushovers.
I realize now. I would
Yes.
have been probably killed that night, but one of your friends came to my rescue.
Wait,
Xavier.
what name is that? Lonely?
Her name was Julia Santuzzi, and you remember her as the woman who got you out. She's the daughter that took you away and hid you for a while before you could be shipped to the mainland.
Not Lombardo. We don't like
Nope.
that, Julia.
Not
Okay, that's right.
Julia is not spelled the same either.
Oh, Giu, like
Yeah, it's a Giu.
Okay. How do you spell the last one? I don't know if I even have this name.
SANTU. ZZI.
He said Z.
My Canadian came out.
It's so
did you
cute.
catch that? Internet?
My favorite.
She apparently had been watching me make a fool of myself and bumbling this investigation, and she came to my rescue. Unfortunately, I made it out. She did not.
That is very unfortunate.
So when I went to safety, one of her associates came to contact me, and I told her the only thing that made sense to me at the time. They had lost an agent in making me safe, so I asked to take her place.
Oh, I feel both proud and angry.
Well,
It was exceedingly dangerous.
it was bound to happen. But
It
that is why
true. But
when
it's
I
also
refused to
why
speak,
I married you.
well, this is the least I could do. But this is also why when I refused to give them information about you, they thought they would bring me back to try to bait the other daughters out. Obviously, this could not happen. So, if you had not come when you did, I was fully prepared never to make it to the mainland. And he sort of sombers up and pauses for a bit and then says, "But that is the past. There is not much to do, and I'm committed to helping your crew to the best of my ability."
I know you will. And I wouldn't sell yourself short. You did come into it not entirely prepared, but you came out of it much stronger in more ways than one. I can tell.
I'm not sure if it's strength or stubbornness, but
Are they any different?
perhaps not. All right. Anybody want to do anything else during this trip?
I mean, Zhenya should not be doing anything else
No,
for a minute.
no.
When
So do we get back like the same night, or
It's half a day, give or take.
yeah, not anything before we get back, but I'm wondering if we can. So this is a full Karak. This won't fit into the hidden dock in the island, will it?
No.
Okay.
This one will have to go up front.
That's fine. I sort of consider this from the deck, and I tap Jimena actually, and I'm like, you and your cousin, you guys have pretty fine control of your abilities, yeah?
Does Rodrigo have it? Because the
Yes.
way he does, okay. She's like, I mean, I know I do. I know he did at one point. I don't know if it still does.
Was Rodrigo a sailor as well, or associated with ships at all?
No, we lived in a mountain village. I'm only a sailor because I ran away.
Ah, okay.
So
Would he take direction from you well at all?
I mean, yeah, probably.
I stomp the deck with my foot, and I'm like, I wonder if you two could pull the deck off of this thing for me, because we need to change its profile.
By pull off deck, do you mean burn it off?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be too hard.
Cool. We'll rename her the Phoenix.
Nice.
Cute.
Oh, you
Cute
thought
bird.
that whole thing out, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
That's the
Good.
perfect name.
Oh yeah. And if they
Good
if they
thinking.
can do a little job on the hull, just crisp it, get that nice like reinforced, there's a way you can heat treat wood.
Is it the Gilded Phoenix? We have to have it like
Right.
it can't just be the Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm working on the full name, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's workshopping it.
Rethel has ideas because it may not be time for Mendez y Mendez to have its own ship.
Yeah,
If
that's
you want it to be really fancy, I can etch designs in the side of it. I don't know that you can, but I can.
I would not stop an artist, by all means.
nice.
It's like I made a wizard on the side of the ship. Look at it.
A sick wizard riding a unicorn.
It's a Pegasus, actually.
Right.
Yeah, okay. No, dig it.
It's a Pegasus fighting a mermaid.
With a dragon in the background.
Yeah, I basically want the sub deck to become the new top deck, and then when we get around to bringing some carpenters onto it, we're actually gonna like board up half the gun holes, because we're gonna be pulling a bunch of the guns off of it. But yeah, I'll get into some of that later as I sort of fiddle with it. But yeah, I think we tell Frederico and what's the Vodace captain's name?
We haven't named him yet.
Good luck, Captain.
His name is Luciano. True to Vodace tradition, he's not a noble, so he doesn't get a last name.
By the way, did we actually get all the information we needed off the ship and stuff?
Pretty much. All the documents and stuff are freely available.
Okay.
I think we would transfer all of that more obviously incriminating evidence to the sloop, because I think by now it should be well enough refitted.
Yep.
And then, we'll tell Lucy and Freddie that
You see what I'm writing?
the island's their new home, so they can, they're the bottom of the totem pole and got to work their way up. They report
roll
to
too.
so and so.
Sure. Hide first.
And they know that they're both on the shit list. So
Yep.
I'm sure Fred will be fine, but Lucy might have time with it.
Federico is fine being in the brig, and basically is very cooperative. The captain just whines
The captain just
about
whines.
his bad luck primarily.
Oh,
But
does he whine?
well, when he starts getting comfortable, he whines,
Oh,
and then he stops.
no,
And then he starts again when he gets
No.
comfortable.
Oh, Lucy, no. You don't get to live on the island now.
No, Lucy, no.
And then after his last bout of whining comes a great period of quiet. Maybe he's settled down finally.
No, too late.
But one of the crescents actually comes over, like looking slightly embarrassed, and he basically comes to you, Rethold, and sort of bows and says, "If I can bother you a second, Hamal. The captain on the other ship, he died."
Oh, the Sable Wren's captain passed away?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait, the Sable Wren? Isn't that?
No, not the Sable Wren
I'm like,
captain.
no.
The captured captain.
Oh. The captured captain died?
Yeah. We thought he finally settled in or fell asleep or something, and then Kadim joked that, maybe he finally couldn't take it and he killed himself, and that seemed funny at the time. But unless he found a way through his ropes to cut his own throat, somebody else did him in.
Bum, bum, bum.
Well, now we have to lock the ship down because everyone's a suspect.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Lavinia.
Murder on the Ballon Blanche.
Right.
Where's Poirot?
But this would have had to have been after, though, right? Like
Yep.
when we
Daniel Ricardo
actually
was
were on
born.
the island already.
It was recent.
Oh yeah, well, dump him over the side. We don't need him anymore. I go find Lavinia.
She's in the quarters. You've pretty much assigned her. Kadim sort of lets you in once you're there and says, like, she ate at her food but didn't leave the room. And when you enter, you find her seated in a chair by the bed.
Actually, I asked Kadim, I'm like, so you've been with her the entire time?
That's right.
And you guys haven't gone above deck, huh?
No, Hamal came down a couple of times, but I've stayed with her.
Interesting. Okay.
Does it really matter? I mean, he kind of sucked anyway.
Yeah, but if someone who's loyal to their cause is cutting this dude's throat because he was a traitor, that means we're toting someone loyal into our den where you and the new girl are and your husband, and yeah.
Yeah. That's
I mean, do I like? Am I around as they're doing this?
You hear all of this brouhaha
Okay.
happening.
I take people aside and I say, I apologize. I just saw it fit to take out the trash. It was me.
Oh. You're welcome.
okay. All right. As long as we know who it was then.
Yes, Lavinia could not have possibly have done it. She would not disobey you.
Well, one could hope, you know. Otherwise, yeah, we were gonna have to, you know, anchor off the island, and then nobody in, nobody out, and whew, okay, no, that's fine.
I saw it coming. I saw it coming. So I am guilty.
I was like, yeah, remember, like warrior and soldier, we're like super.
Yeah.
No, that's not according to plan.
Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
I'm like, fair enough. You didn't make the deal with him, so all right.
But yeah, Lavinia actually, if you go and visit her, sort of looks up, and she actually says, before you ask her a question, "Is he dead?"
And to which Rethel replies, I think you know the answer to that.
It certainly does.
It was a long time coming.
I've met many who were already dead while they walked.
And she sort of looks at you. She pauses, actually, for a moment, as if she's having some sort of internal debate. You may now spend that hero point if you want to prevent her from reading you.
Yeah, I spend it, and I sort of go, ah.
Her expression doesn't change, but you can tell just from her body language that she's startled.
I move in. Yeah. I move in close. I move up into her space, and I'm like, if you want to know, just ask.
She immediately looks down and says, "I apologize. I overstepped and used my powers unprompted."
Didn't say the magic word.
And to which I go, apology accepted.
Yeah, I totally killed the dude without asking.
I'm like,
Right.
I don't mind you using your powers, but we do like a bit of courtesy around here.
I will remember.
What did you want to know?
It seems like death follows you, and yet you're still alive.
You just described all Vestin.
But you don't seem like you deserve death.
I sort of breathe a sigh of relief. I'm like, I should hope not. I've tried very hard. And as far as death following me around, I've made no deals with it, if that's a concern.
Your links with your friends are strong. Like my previous masters, you seem driven by profit, but this is not your main driving force.
I pull a pouch of guilders off my belt, and I sort of heft it, and I'm like, this is a hammer. This is an axe. They are but tools. And I tie it back off, and I'm like, and I like tap her shoulder. I'm like, this is what has value.
I'm not sure I understand, but I will try.
Oh, you will, girl.
Feel free to head up on deck, get some air.
Feel free. What a thought.
She nods and says in a bit,
Good. Can't wait for another chat.
and as you're about to leave, she basically says, don't be too hard on Federico. Out of all of them, he's the only one that did not want to be here, but had to be.
She gets the back of my head nodding. And I'm like, he seems a man industrious, and we do reward that.
He's a good man with an incredibly bad fortune.
Oh boy, I saw that.
I sort of chuckle, and I turn and I'm like, I know men can change their fortune, and others can change it for them. Perhaps he'll be so lucky.
I cannot say I used to believe this, but today may be different. I saw calamity coming, and yet I am still here.
Doesn't mean you're free of it yet. Remember who I keep company. And I just start walking down the hallway.
Yeah, Kadim sort of gives you a nod as you exit and gets back on top.
I give him a pat and I'm like, let me know if you want a couple extra coins for the babysitting.
My pleasure.
Okay.
No worries. This is a new life. I
All
will
right,
live
well,
it to the fullest.
if you fall in love, I'm not walking you to the altar. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
He sort of leans back near the cell and he's like, what do you do if it's her?
And I'm like,
And he sort of flexes a little bit as he leans back next to the door.
and I laugh and I pound the wall. just good people. Good people. Oh, so good.
Gonna have to tell that guy something about being married to a fate witch.
Right.
She'll know everything.
You never
Yes.
lie. There's nothing to worry about.
But yes, you make it back to land. Ships are moored. Supplies are getting pulled off. Reorganized. The Rethold expounds on his plans for the ship. Rodrigo is excited to help. Jimena may be a little too excited. So, you may take that as you will, but he's really loving the idea. And you get welcomed back on the island. Malika, who's the Lady Crescent there, has organized things in your absence, apparently aided by Captain de Landreville, who's putting himself to work. He keeps being told to sit back down by some of the Crescents as they have changed his bandages a couple times, but there's shit to be done, and he will not suffer to sit while other people are working. But yeah, there's hustle and bustle. The island already feels much different in just a day from where you first stepped on it. As if to illustrate that, even some of the gloom has lifted from the island. You get that beautiful southern sun at the end of the day, just
And lots of
welcoming you. And it's just beautiful. You get that nice sunset on the waves, as this feels like this could be yet another new home for y'all.
Well, we're definitely going to need at least a day here on the island. I think everyone will be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
Before we head back to the mainland with our new acquisitions.
That's right. You get a slightly off etiquette left hand shake from Captain Landreville, as his right hand is no longer available.
I like grab him by the shoulder and I go, no. We've done this before here. And I like turn my left hand upside down so that it matches for the handshake. And I'm like, and then I just pat the other side of his hand. I'm like, there you go.
There's appreciation to that. You see that he and Leandro give each other a very polite, solemn nod. Not a lot of words exchanged, but Landreville basically gets to him and gives him like a pat on the shoulder and said, "Not that I was worried with the screw, but glad you got out nonetheless." And Leandro is like, likewise. Yeah, like there's hooping and hollering from the Crescent crew at the sight of the new ship being brought in. There's some celebration. The freed slaves basically come in and are almost like lauded like heroes. They have to be tempered a little bit because they're ready to sign on right this moment and onto the Sable Rend. But Malika says, "I have to talk to Ajmal for this. He's the captain. He'll give the okay. You're not signing anything right now. Come back with us. You'll talk with him. Just wait."
Besides, I've got 2 ships right there that are going to need crew, so...
Yep. Zhenya, you took most of the trip to rest up. You still feel a little out of it, but much better.
She requests Ricardo take her out to at least land.
Oh, absolutely.
She'll feel better on Earth than she does on the water.
Yes. It's almost immediate the moment you leave the gangplank of the ship and your foot touches the hard rock of the island. It feels immediately better. Plus, you already sort of consecrated this when you asked this land to help you vine over some slavers. So it feels like you're coming home in more ways than one.
Aw. Just leave me in a thicket.
Yeah, we'll leave her there for a moment. We'll come back. She sprouts.
Ricardo very gingerly just puts you down the thicket.
I guess I'll plant her right here.
Right.
Just be a little transplant right now, guys. Like,
Right.
roots are a little tired.
In a couple minutes, I'm gonna go drop my fiance in the woods for a second, and I'll be right back.
Oh, if she ever meets any of his real family, it's gonna be like, what is she? I don't know. But great.
Right.
I know, but I like her all the same.
Yep.
So I think after the day of rest, or the day of chilling, doing work there on the island, I think our crew needs to go back to San Felipe on the Belle and Blanche.
Yep.
And then we'll have a small crew bring the new sloop and dock in San Felipe as well with all of the incriminating evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, after we talk to benefactor and our allies, we can have them send an agent to the sloop to pick up whatever evidence they need.
Oh yes, we definitely need to talk to Salvadora
Yeah.
about the threat to Sophia's daughters that we found out about.
Yeah.
If you're discussing this at some point, Landreville says, "What about me? How do you want me to return to San Felipe?"
Well, it's your show. What do you think, Captain? We've got a good man in there right now. He's only had a couple days to get into his position, but if you make a grand return, he'll make an excellent lieutenant.
I have to think on this. My initial thought would be to return with you all. I think I need to connect with Governor Perez.
Oh yes, he is quite in a state.
And I think, much as I'm loath to be the center of attention, I think we should try to make my return to San Felipe the most impactful it can be. So let's discuss how we can make that little revelation hurt the Inquisition the most.
Absolutely.
I'm open to thoughts on that, and I'm sure your benefactor will have some as well. Perhaps the Liberation Front will also have some ideas.
Okay. Perhaps we change it up then a little bit. Perhaps we head back on the sloop, just the handful of us, so that we can meet and discuss without too much fanfare. And then we can meet with the Belle and Blanche the next day, anchored in the harbor, and then come in officially the next day with the plan in full action.
That sounds like a plan.
It's a good plan for a plan.
When we have a minute, they're nice to have. So yeah,
you just don't always have a minute.
I think we've gotten better at that over time.
we don't
I was like,
need
we have
them. But
less minutes than we have plans.
yeah, I would need a small crew for the blatant gull, which is a lot easier to put on the side of a ship.
Yep.
And once
Wait,
we've got that,
which one's the blatant goal?
that's the sloop.
It's
That's the little
sloop?
one.
Yep.
The sloop.
It's the captured sloop.
It was originally the conspicuous albatross, but that's as long as the ship.
Too
It's
long.
ridiculous. So.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, as soon
It's
as
like
we
Ernesto named all of those. Adjective, bird.
as soon as we get a crew for that, we'll head back to San Felipe
There's something
and
wrong.
what was that?
Something wrong with Ernesto. Too many birds.
There's
Yeah.
many things wrong with Ernesto.
Yeah, right.
So what the heck is he actually smoking anyways? I mean, who knows what that stuff really is?
But if you ask him, they're all what makes him so charming.
Somebody probably, likes that. Like, there's...
I mean,
Yeah.
he might have. I don't see that there's anything wrong with Ernesto.
Right?
Well, Jay wouldn't think there's anything wrong with him. Lisa
If you
thinks
discuss that out loud, mysteriously, he's behind you smoking and says, "Oh, many, many ladies."
I
good.
kind of just give him the deadpan look, because I'm like,
Oh, good. Here I was afraid there. We'd need that dowry back. Okay, all right.
No, to be fair, I was not talking of you, obviously.
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I suppose I don't really count as a lady.
I have not drained the pool so much that I need to hit on married women. So that's
So you're saying, though, that if you did feel like you drained the pool, you would actually hit on married ladies? I'm just being difficult now.
well. Who
honestly.
knows? I'm still young. I may. It may come that there is no other alternative.
I chuckle and,
Oh.
I'm like, who? What's the male equivalent of a mistress? What is that?
Ernesto.
Brilliant.
He sort of
Goodness.
salutes, marches off.
Off he goes.
Okay. So you have a return plan. We'll take that day of rest. And I think this is a solid point to call it a night
Mm-hmm.
before we get into anything else. A little bit of a quiet session this time around as opposed to the carnage and mayhem of the last 3 sessions. So
I don't know. I got some action. Didn't even ask.
what do
did
you
he
mean
say?
you didn't even ask? Like you made it happen. That's on you.
Mm-hmm.
Did he
The
say
next
how
time
much
someone
XP?
goes to check on Zhenya, she's in the plushest pillow of clovers and most back.
Right?
Just-
Aw.
Ricardo is on a log that has plot like right next to it, and he's seated, like elbow on his knee, just sipping wine, living the
Flowers
life.
keep curling up over his boot.
Yep, yep, living the life.
He's reaching
Jimena is in the mess hall.
Yeah,
Quality control.
there's some good food, Megan, and
A variety, I'd imagine.
yeah, there's a decent amount of supplies. There's some crescent dishes there, so
Ooh,
Expanding
Wow.
the palate.
yep.
Jimena is excited to try new foods.
But yes, we will pick this back up.
Will actually, Megan, do we know if we're likely going to be on for tomorrow night?
So it was
I mean, as far as I know, yes, because my schedule's been modified, so I get off work at 2 tomorrow, and then I have to work from home
Sure.
for the rest of my day, except that my job isn't a job that you can do from home, but
Right.
right.
we want to reduce the amount of staff that are in the building at any given time.
You have to do the quotation marks with your old arms
Yeah.
to do them justice.
But
Um,
so as far as I know, but Lisa's not going to be here because she's going to be going
Right.
to Idaho.
Right.
That's right.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay. Right.
Yeah, like I leave tomorrow
Yeah, the
morning.
21st.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I remember what date it was.
So we will see what that looks like in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and good night, Internet.
Good night,
Good night, Internet. Hey, wait, experience points. Sorry, yes.
Everybody
good night,
get
Internet.
3. And do the